so we're down Gibson Lane. That way is the effluent plant.
Just beyond,
Yeah.
behind Donna's Head there.
So that's where we filmed last time.
Yeah.
And now we're looking for the asbestos site and the contaminated cell site, which has come out of your research from the public documents at the Treasure House.
That's right, yeah.
Right, so we've got a copy, a miniaturised copy of the map, which shows where the asbestos is supposed to be buried from when they demolished and cleared the site.
Yeah.
And where they also put a big contaminated cell to contain some very dangerous chemicals.
All the nasties that were on.
Is it
on
all
that
of
site.
them or some of them? Because Greenpeace have got pictures of bagged up.
Well, some
No.
of that came back, didn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
some
so
came back
presumably
from the
that's-
States because it was still too
Yeah.
radioactive. Some ended up, according to Greenpeace, in Bolivia, and some of it appears to be here.
Yeah, well, if it's here, it'll be in that containment cell.
Right, so then we need
But
to
we
be
don't know exactly where it is. That's how the containment cell should have been built.
dug out.
With a membrane to stop it seeping through. And then
Right,
it was going to get topped off. Each load was going to get topped off with slag.
right.
And another layer, and then slag, and then finally 300 millimetres of topsoil forming material is what they said.
Forming material, I don't know what that
Topsoil-
is.
No, neither we, but whatever was left and what was left when they demolished the place,
Yeah,
which we've got photos. I've got those with me as well.
right,
Got
okay.
photos of them actually blowing up
Right,
asbestos-clad buildings, and it's all, forget how many 100,000 tonnes of rubble there was going to be is
Yeah.
on here, and we've got maps showing contoured, this being contoured up to a
Right.
height of 9 metres above sea level, and what it says is the level is already 5 metres above, so there's only 4 metres
right.
spread about over here in layers of slag, rubble, call it what you
So
will.
they've still done the layer cake across
Yeah,
this chunk of
yeah.
the land.
And finished it off with 300 millimetres of this so-called soil forming material.
Was there any landscaping supposed to be done?
Yeah, that was going to be sown down with grass,
Right,
and it specified what types of grass, and then planted with shrubs and trees, and it specified again what types of trees, which I have that in here as well if you want to.
so how long ago was that document roughly? Was that document in the early
93,
1990s?
I think.
So we're now in 2016
There should be trees and shrubs.
and it's supposed to
up
be
here.
full trees. Well, I can't see any.
We can see what, like twigs out there really.
Well, it's
What's
scrub
grown?
land and I've never known any trees here.
Yep.
Okay, shall we have a wander?
There's
Go on.
There's
Yeah.
one of their check-in stations
Yes.
along here. So they
Yeah.
was supposed to be checking to the ground. So because there
In
is where
effect,
there's check-in.
That pile wasn't there. That's on the right of way, which
Yeah.
is why the public now come this way.
That's right.
So they've taken that and filled it in, and they shouldn't have. And that's in the back.
But that's a tap,
Right.
so they can actually get water out of it.
Am
and
I
check what's
right
in
in
there, what's
saying
co-
that you and Jeff found a document that said that they were supposed to be monitoring for 5 years?
That's right. They were
They
supposed
had
to monitor and
meetings.
report it to the council. There was that one for water, and then there was another type, which I've failed to find any of those.
Right.
for-
Were they the ones marked with the little crosses on the
That's right,
map
yeah,
that you
yeah,
showed me?
yeah. Well, that's
So-
one of them, and we've got an actual drawing of that. That's how I knew what it was.
Right, and that's so that it can monitor what's coming off the land into the estuary.
What's seeping into the
Into the
from what's
water
deposited
table.
in there. Yeah.
Right, and we don't know about any testing since the
no,
1990s
No, they applied
to
to
stop
stop
it.
doing it.
And we don't know why they said that they could stop doing it.
Well, we presume that all the
But we
tests
haven't
were-
seen anything.
There's nothing. We haven't found anything to say that the tests were okay, or that anybody checked them.
So we have got no certificate signing it all off or
No, we
anything.
can't find anything like that.
Right.
Okay. that on
I
there.
don't understand why there's no gauze. Do you know what I mean? When you're in Wales and things, and there are slag heaps and coal heaps that
Yeah,
aren't
gauze,
contaminated,
yeah.
they're covered in gauze and stuff. We haven't got any of the. We've got no gauze. We've got brambles, but they're not brilliant brambles.
Yeah, if you come round when the brambles are forming, they never actually form properly. You wouldn't be attracted to pick them and eat them because they're just deformed.
They're not right.
No.
And one of the people we know who used to work at the effluent plant, he was saying when the stuff was let out, you could see it.
Yeah.
So in
Right,
other
yeah.
words, what was coming down and through this land glowed. It had a strange colour to it.
No, you said the actual land glowed. You didn't
You said
say
the
it.
land glowed.
Yeah, you said if you came down at night time, the land glowed.
Well, that ties in with what other people have said about what they saw in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And he was down here on shift.
He was on what they call the zero shift. At midnight every night, they let thousands of gallons of contaminated waste run down the dike into the Humber.
So hence the monitoring going on. And we don't know what's in this land.
True.
Is there a list? You've got the little map that says where the asbestos is. Well, asbestos is only one substance. Is there a list as to what the contaminated chemical matter is that's gone into the other pit?
There's a list of what chemicals were known to be on the site.
That's
Yeah,
the
and
Health
being-
and Safety Executive list,
Yeah.
which we know about, but
Yes.
that's a general list. I
It's
wondered
about
if
20 different items, isn't it?
is there a specific one for that particular pit that you've seen?
Not that I know of, no.
Because one of the things from recent research that I was doing is elsewhere in the country, they've got a whole system now for tying up the paperwork. So you've got what I call the snail trail, so that you can give a certificate at the end of it that this is what you've tested for, this is how it's been done, this is how it's been remediated, this is what we've agreed to, this is the end outcome. So the public have got that kind of reassurance. We haven't got any of those documents, have we?
No.
Shall we see if it is as high as we think it is?
Okay.
Hopefully we don't.
Without falling on your face.
So the species of tree that's supposed to be here is
Has to be
salt,
saline resistant or what?
because this is the second only tidal estuary in the country.
Yeah.
So there in the mist is the Humber.
Yeah. You still won't be able to see us, don't you? We think, as well as doing it on where they were supposed to do it, that they've actually done it on that piece at the other side of
Oh
the
my
of
goodness,
the
it
ditch,
goes up.
because that's at the same sort of height, and we have got a map showing contours on that as well. Although we haven't found anything mentioning it, but it's showing the same contours that are shown on this bit is also shown on there.
So if we're looking that way,
Yeah.
where's the asbestos and the contamination pit? There,
Yeah.
right? And then it dips down
Yeah,
because
which
of
is
the
where
water,
dike comes in.
which is the
Where-
dike.
That's where the acid used to run, by the way, because it came down to the fence, across there, and then down there, along the bank, and then out into the river.
So that comes down here, and then we've got the land for some reason going up over there. And do you think that's
We
because
think they've
they've also done
Because that's
dumping
where we
there?
think they'll let the chimney come as well.
Because nobody knows where the chimney is.
We don't at the moment.
But in effect, what we haven't got is a comprehensive document to do with the demolition, saying what was to be demolished, when it was to be demolished, and where the debris was supposed to go.
No, all we've got is a tonnage of what they expected was to be put on this land.
Right.
And when you're talking of hundreds of thousands of tonnes, this area isn't big enough, which is why we think they also dumped it over there as well.
But if you didn't know and you were starting from ground zero in learning about all of this, you would think that there would be a document laying everything out and saying this building's demolished at this time, this is what was removed from it, this is where it went, and there's nothing to do with that.
No.
So we don't even have that for the chimney, which was 600 feet tall. Pardon me.
No, we don't have anything as to where that chimney went, although we have got unconfirmed information from ex-employees that said it was dropped into
A trench.
into a trench.
Right, because we know that that brickwork would have all been contaminated, even though they claimed it to have
They
been
claim
cleaned.
it was being cleaned, yeah. Pressure washed and vacuumed is what they said. But
None of
No.
the filters worked, so
When you-
goodness knows what was seeped into the bricks.
yeah. So this is the ditch coming away from what we
Right.
had described as the acid plant, which runs down and down this area along
Right.
there, which is where they let the gallons and gallons of acid
Yeah.
out on a nightly basis.
So this is the land that we're standing on that we were told used to glow in the dark.
Yes.
So is this the drainage ditch that used to be white, a very strange white colour people have talked about?
It is lots of gallons every night. Hundreds of gallons were let go at midnight every night by this
Yeah.
particular guy and his oppo.
And it came right the way down. Well, we know that Greenpeace were monitoring it
Yeah.
because it got so bad. So it would tie up the anecdotal evidence, and the map and everything does tally. It's just that this has got nothing on it, and yet it goes up.
That's this area.
Right.
You can't read it, but it's 9
Yeah.
metres. You can do this on the computer, by the way, if you want. That's 9 metres, and if
Yeah.
you look at that, that is also 9 metres, and that goes all the way to
The edge.
Brickyard Lane. That's Brickyard Lane there.
There.
Yeah.
Right. So in which case, it would tally that they've put something here.
Yeah. It specifies what the fence is going to be there.
When they were doing the demolition, they weren't allowed to take any timber.
No
off-site.
timber off-site was allowed to be dumped on here because they didn't want anything that would decay on this site and cause any gas emissions of any type. So there was nothing apart from rubble was allowed to be deposited on this site. No general waste, just all demolition waste.
And you were saying
And
what
slag.
happened to the timber?
The timber, it was specified that one furnace had to be maintained until they'd finished demolishing the site so they could burn any timber off the site. So they said one of the things it actually specifies in there is that there would be no problem with vermin or flies on the site because there's nothing on the site that would cause them to want to be here.
So in other words, you wouldn't have any animals being poisoned from the contamination or from any waste matter,
Yes,
and you wouldn't have them carrying it anywhere else either.
precisely because there was nothing that would decay that was allowed to come on.
And of course, that seems to be correct because there's nothing growing here, and obviously if you had decaying matter, then it would feed roots, it would feed the land in some way.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
So when we're looking, you were saying that there are different types of tree mentioned for planting. We can see some trees, though they're not very tall,
Yeah.
that are on literally the edge because we are very close to the Humber.
Yeah, some of the species that's mentioned is common alder,
Yeah.
grey alder and willow. And then over here, I can't read that.
Yeah, but
There's-
we can sort of see some of them down here.
Yeah.
But then we haven't got any other trees being planted up,
No,
and none of the other
there's
landscaping done.
There's nothing growing, is there?
In a clear 20 years, this is as much as we've got.
Yeah. Whether it is one of the check-in stations or not, the other type of check-in station that's mentioned on the map, I'm not sure.
Right.
But I can't imagine that there is a water pipe running along here. There's nothing for it to feed.
Yeah, there's no
they'd take
point to have a water
a
pipe.
water pipe. So that could be one of the check-in stations.
And it's locked as well.
Yeah.
It's very specifically placed, isn't it?
Hmm. So whether it is one or not, I wouldn't like to say it was. But they were quoted as having manholes on the top. Yeah, it's definitely slack because it's really heavy. You'll feel that way.
It's supposed to. God, that's got iron in it. It's
Oh, they.
It's supposed to be inert enough that they were using it on the roads when they got the smelting process refined enough. You. Come on.
Well, I remember I've got it.
That is really dense. The people who are working here don't know about it. You know, they don't know enough. And
Place in there, in Bareham Shed.
yeah,
Most of it is not concrete, it's just slag.
oh my God. Well, anything could be evaporating up. Because down Reid-Chalmers Lane, you can smell it. So we're on the end of Gibson Lane, looking at the public right-of-way, and somebody has put this.
Well, they fenced it off and then filled it in with all wherever they got that from. But that
Well, this
was
is
the boundary.
really, but it's a public right-of-way. Hey! Hi!
You alright?
Yes, we're just complaining because that's the public right-of-way.
Yeah, it's been blocked.
Yeah, it has, it's been blocked. It is
And
that.
that way's unpassable now.
Yeah.
Which is awful because it is beautiful.
It is, yeah.
On a retail outlet on the outskirts. So that the birds and wildlife can travel between.
My next door neighbour said they used to come swimming in the pond. The pond was in behind.
Ah, no, I've never been able to work that out.
Yeah. I got him to show me on a map where the pond was that they used to swim in, and it was in this area, just this side of Walton Waters.
I've ever seen Donna running to try to catch it. Oh, it's hilarious. So, take me through it again, Pete. This is a road that's made of slag.
Yeah, that comes down here, and then they went off in that direction to that tipping area.
Right, okay.
Right, and that's marked on the map.
Okay.
Right, that's the way they had to come in. If you walk that goes all the way up to the fence and into the original Cappers side.
Right, so we've walked from Gibson Lane along the Transpennine Way, which has been partially blocked as we saw. And behind us, if we carried on going, we'd join up to Brickyard Lane.
Yeah, they're just behind those
It's
trains.
just there. So we are at the point where there's a road made of slag that comes down.
Yeah.
You think there's a drainage point?
The drainage point where that drain comes through is through here. If you look,
Right.
you see that cover there.
There's a concrete cover.
Yeah, that's
looks like a
water
bunker
running
thing.
through there.
And
It's-
then this was what?
This was the jetty. The wooden jetty that as was here, and that's where the outfall came.
So was this the jetty that they used to deliver stuff and bring it in or take it out? Or what was the jetty used for? I know it dates back a very long way
Yeah.
from what residents have said. And you're saying there was another jetty. Where's the other jetty?
The other one, that was El Cement's jetty, and they had an overhead conveyor line bringing stuff from there to go into barges.
So it is fair to say, and we know this from the Greenpeace pictures, that Kappa Pass and RTZ weren't the only big industry in the area and who were part of the pollution and the problem. They would just seem to be the main and biggest ones because of the kind of chemicals they were dealing with. Because one of the questions we have been asked by somebody who worked at Kappa Pass is why does everybody blame Kappas and RTZ? Well, it's not as simple as that, is it? It's because they had the chimney and the airborne particles as well as dumping into the river. It's not just one sort of contamination here, it's land, water and air. And I said on our...
And it was so obvious because of the smell that was coming as well. On low pressure days, the smell that was going out there was like rotten eggs in Ferriby.
Well, you remember it.
Yeah, remember
So-
it, and you could see it as well. You know, it's like a greeny yellowy mist coming through.
And it because of the way the air pressure is and the low-lying land, it used to sit like a blanket.
Yeah,
So the initial idea was by making the chimney 300 feet taller,
600.
it would carry it out.
What we were told in the papers and everything at the time when they were going to have the chimney built was that would take it up into the atmosphere and it would come down over northern Europe. But it never worked that way, ever. Because it was down, as I say, on what I call low pressure days. You could see it come out of the chimney, and within a field it was going along the ground.
So the fields that were the Kappa Pass overflow and that they had as their buffer, if I can call it that, which are part of the Melton Fields inquiry, and the wood, were in the immediate path of that.
That's right, that's been the line of prevailing wind. If you remember that evidence I gave at Beverley, we actually drew it on a map where they...
Yes, because the planning
Where it
inspector
went.
couldn't understand the fact that it's not just the factory site that was contaminated, it's the land around it.
That's right.
She didn't seem able to grasp the level of air pollution that was going on and the fact that the density of those particles dropped in the land and has contaminated the land.
That's right, yeah. Which is what all Towell's information was about as well, isn't it? It was about residents in the surrounding area.
And the dust.
Yes.
Yes, because obviously the residents had none of the benefit of any health and safety equipment and had none of the benefit of being warned.
Yeah.
So, it's down to you. I think it was your wife who was saying, about rushing around, shutting your windows and making sure that the children were kept out the garden and things like that when you've got this horrible greeny yellow...
Yeah, he didn't realise in them days exactly how serious it was, though, really. What was in all that, it was just a horrible stench, but what was in it, you didn't realise how seriously contaminated it was with all these heavy metals.
And she was saying about the dust in your home.
Yeah, you used to get that on all your windowsills.
Do you remember we found some material to do with a lichen expert who was going around this area, seeing what was and wasn't growing?
Yeah.
And looking at the roofs, and he didn't find the right sort of lichen species that should have been here because they've been killed off by the contamination.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Basically, this is sorted out because nobody has, as far as we can work out.
Nobody's sorted anything, have they? Yeah, and that's ongoing, of course. There's people even now dying to this day down Plantation, Corby and what have you, that have got various forms of cancer, and it's all, we believe, as a result of...
And Parkinson's,
Capitalism.
and we've got heart conditions and neurological, the brain tumours and things. So it's difficult to, other than to say it's horrendous and it's all awful, but from hard concrete evidence, there's supposed to have been full clearance. Well, we know that we've still got the effluent plant sitting there, so we know that there wasn't proper clearance done. In terms of demolition, trying to work out what's where, we haven't got full accountability in paperwork and documents for that.
That's where it's buried.
Yeah, and what's buried where. And in terms of remediation, there's supposed to be topsoil on all of this and planting.
Only 300 milli, which is only a foot. So what trees are going
But
to be establishing a foot?
But we actually don't have it. on chunks, on quite a large portion of the site, it's still all slag.
Yeah.
So in which case, 20 years on, it doesn't look as if the remediation's been done. And we've got the council believing that they can then put wind turbines, break through the earth crust, put in footings and things into chemicals and land contamination, and they don't actually know what's in there.
They don't.